All right, good morning, everybody. My name is Jenny Kroger, and I'm the Communications Director for the FSU College of Education. I want to thank you all for joining us this morning to learn more about our graduate programs in the Department of Educational Psychology and Learning Systems here at FSU. Before I hand things over to our presenters, I want to do a little bit of housekeeping. So we're going to start with a brief overview of the department, and then we'll move on to program-specific presentations. So during those presentations, we ask that you leave your microphone on mute. So if you have a question, please do post it in the chat. And we also ask that if you haven't done so yet, please turn off your video just in case we encounter some bandwidth problems. But I think that covers everything. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Jim Klein, the Chair of Ed Psych and Learning Systems.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Jim Klein, and I chair the Department of Educational Psychology and Learning Systems. We are a department of approximately 30 faculty and 5 staff members. The department includes a number of programs, and some of you are here to hear about one in particular, and others of you are here to hear about some specific programs. So this morning, I believe we're going to start by hearing from our educational psychology representatives who are going to talk about learning and cognition, and we have a master's and a PhD in learning and cognition, and a certificate in college teaching. Next, we're going to hear about our Instructional Systems and Learning Technologies program. That program consists of a Master's of Science and 2 doctorates, and a education doctorate and a Doctor of Philosophy degree. We also have certificates in Instructional Systems, in Human Performance Technology, in online teaching and learning. After that, we'll hear from our combined counseling psychology and school psychology program. This is a doctoral program only, followed by our career counseling, mental health counseling, and school counseling programs that offer a Master's of Science and a Doctorate of Education degree, a Specialist of Education degree. We'll hear from our school psychology faculty who offers a Master of Science and a Educational Specialist degree. This will be followed by Measurement and Statistics, which is a program in the department offering a master's degree, a PhD, and a certificate. And this will be, the day will end with a presentation by our sports psychology faculty who offer a Master's of Science and a PhD degree. This next slide sort of shows the overview of the department and how it works. And you can ask questions about it later if you want, but really this is just our org chart. And so if you sort of look across the second row there, you'll see the main names of the degrees. So we have degrees in counseling human systems, counseling psychology, human systems, educational psychology, measurement statistics, and instructional systems and learning technologies with various specializations. So without further ado, Alicia, are you able to talk about the next slide, or you want me to continue?
I'm trying to get in on the computer so folks can see me, if Jenny can let me in. Oh, there it goes. Thank you. Welcome, folks. Hello. Welcome, everybody. My name's Alicia Rohrig, and I'm the Associate Chair for the Ed Psych and Learning Systems Department. And in this role, I get to spend a lot of time working with our students. I'm in charge of helping to manage all of our curriculum issues and scheduling courses, and I get to sign off on all your important paperwork for your defenses and for your independent studies. So you would get to interact with me a lot. I just want to tell you a little bit about our department in general, and then I'll tell you a little bit about purpose that you see the slide up here for. I think we have the best department in the College of Education. We like to say that because we have got a great group of faculty who really get along. We're diverse, we have diverse interests, And we just really like to work together, and when we're not in a pandemic, actually hang out together. So when you come to the department for real, you'll get to see us hanging around with our students and with each other, talking about things, and it's something we really miss right now. But essentially, you know, you saw the org chart. We have sort of 3 pods in our department. We have our school psychology and counseling folks are in one big pod on one side of the hall. And then on the other side, we've got 2 different pods, one for the instructional systems team and the other for our ed psych and sport psych teams and measurement and statistics. So you see, we're kind of complicated. We got all kinds of different things going on. But we do have lots of overlapping interests, which is fun. Thank you, Jenny, for flipping back. We'll go to the purpose thing now. Purpose, I just want to make sure I tell folks about this because, well, first, I'm the director for Purpose. Purpose is a training program for beginning master's students to help us increase the diversity of those who end up getting doctorates in education-related fields. And so we've had over the last few years, this is funded by the federal government, we've had a few different fellows from our department, and we have a few folks who are mentors in our department from across different programs. We also collaborate with folks in different departments in the College of Education here and at FAMU and in their psychology department. And so it's a great interdisciplinary team. It offers a stipend to fellows and lots of awesome research opportunities, particularly with a summer camp that we do in the summertime, and working with children for, they don't have to pay anything to go to the summer camp. And we help the teachers and we help evaluate the program. So it's really a cool year-long program. So if you are entering as a master's student, we just have already closed for this current year, but you might be eligible to apply for the following year. So this is just something to keep in mind. It just sort of displays one of the cool interdisciplinary things that folks are working on together. And before we go to, let me see what time we're on. I guess I can just slip right into my topic. I figure we can take some questions about the department if we want. Are there any things in the chat? Let's see. We got no chat questions yet. No questions about the department? I didn't want to get too far ahead. What do you think? Anybody else want to say anything about how awesome our department is? Ah, that's a great question. So somebody's asking, they want to return for their PhD, and they're wondering if you can accommodate those who are working full time. So which PhD program are you interested in? In the counseling program. Okay, yeah. I think right now, a lot of us are doing some remote classes and some more online classes than we used to do. But I know that there's a push to have some more face-to-face stuff. And the counseling program is not offered online. And so I think it might be a bit tricky to do that while you're working full-time. I don't know if we have anybody here. Tanisha, I don't know if you can field that a little bit.
So this is Jim Klein. Many of the classes are offered in fact, most of the classes are offered in the daytime. So if you're working full-time, you would still have to be able to attend face-to-face, and these classes would be offered throughout the day. The counseling programs don't offer evening classes, or very few of the programs offer counseling programs offer evening classes, particularly the PhD. It would have to be a face-to-face on-campus program. Again, that's for the combined program, counseling and school psychology.
Does anybody else have some general questions? I just didn't want to start too early. Yeah, we've been more flexible during the virus, but now they're starting to go back to normal. Yeah, teaching assistant opportunities. So in each program, as they talk, they're going to talk a bit about how we do our teaching assistant uh, procedures. But just overall as a department, we do look at that as the department where we have a certain number of waivers that we get, as well as a certain number or amount of money that we can divide up for stipends. And our philosophy in the department is to try to fund as many students as we can to get them the tuition waiver and usually a 10-hour-a-week assistantship. Our priorities on funding are PhD students and sometimes master's thesis students if there's a spot and they've got a good fit to a position. We also have folks who have grants who may have assistantships, and those can, if the PI asks, can be trigger a waiver in the department. We also have a lot of students in our department who teach courses for our student services team on campus, as well as who work in the graduate school office and other places where they're able to get assistantships. So there's lots of wonderful opportunities across programs and across the university. Any other questions? I give it one more minute till the official 9:15. Yes, I think the EdD, and Jim can talk a little bit to this because that's his program. The EdD program is intended for those, I believe, who work full-time. It is an entirely online program.
Yes, that is correct. Our EDD program, Instructional Systems, is for working practitioners. In fact, the dissertation is focused on a dissertation in practice, which looks at a local problem in an organization. And so, yes, we very much encourage working adults in our EDD, our online EDD in Instructional Systems and Learning Technologies. And that program will be discussed, I believe, about 9:30. So hang on and we'll talk specifically about that.
Yeah, and another question. Some of the programs are 100% online, like school counseling, and they'll be able to answer your question about when most of the classes are. But you know, most programs have a mix of courses that are synchronous and asynchronous, and so I think you might find that they're more flexible, the fully online programs. Okay, so I get to tell you now about our brand new certificate in college teaching. I'm really excited about this. I'm the certificate coordinator. This graduate certificate is meant to support students who are interested in being able to effectively teach at the college level when they're done. I think in our College of Education, this sort of makes sense to folks, but there are lots of folks across the university who don't get any sort of pedagogical training at all. So this certificate is not just for our students, but you would get to meet students from all the different colleges and programs across the university. We offer this with just 4 classes. Classes that include college, my course that I teach, college teaching, a classroom assessment course, a course on the application of theory to practice in the realm of education, as well as a course on theories related to learning and cognition. And in the college teaching course, you get practical hands-on opportunities to develop syllabi for a course that you'd like to teach or a course that you'd like to improve. And you get to play in a Canvas sandbox and design your own course with sample assignments and rubrics. And you get to observe people teaching and reflect on that, as well as you get to teach to us a few times and get feedback and reflect on that as well. So I think it's a really wonderful opportunity. If you plan to be able to go on and teach, you'll have an official certificate in college teaching. And it's also available to those who are non-degree seeking. So for example, say you graduate with your degree, you can still be enrolled in this after you've graduated and then complete your certificate if you don't have time to finish all the classes while you're enrolled in your program. Let's see, do I have another slide about that, or do I move into the other topic? I think yeah, nope, there it is. That shows you the classes there, as well as the requirements. And what's really cool about these certificates is if you take these hours, say you're a non-degree seeking student and you run to checkout courses in our department, and you take these, and you can count these towards my program in educational psychology, learning and cognition. And so you guys can put some questions in the chat about that if you want. And I will use that as a segue into talking about the learning and cognition program. I don't know if I have access to changing the slides, but so Jenny, can you put it on the next one, please? Thank you. Okay, there's me in the middle, but my very important colleagues, Dr. Phillips and Dr. Turner, make up this program with me. So we have been working together for quite a number of years, growing this program. We're all really excited and passionate about it. We offer both a master's and a PhD. And so I'll be talking about both of those. If you want to learn more about the research that any of us do, you can check out the COE website. We got pages where we talk about the work we're doing, and you can see our vitas. And you also can email folks here. Thanks, Jenny. We'll go to the next one. Okay, so just as a general overview of learning and cognition, we've been excited to be in the top 20 of EdPsych degree programs a couple of times over the last several years. And our program is focused on helping people to understand the theories related to cognition, learning, instruction, development, and learning how to critique and understand research so that you can evaluate programs and be able to apply the theory and research to practice. And our students do this in a number of different venues. So we have students who work in research, right, supporting people in their labs, in universities, or at centers. We have people who work in the classroom and are learning about strategies to, work with their students and evaluate the research, or become learning coaches. We have students who work for the state government, evaluating programs and that sort of thing. We have students who work for nonprofit organizations, doing curriculum development, students who work for charter schools, doing assessment and evaluation. So there's so many different places you can apply this, including even in HR and training. So that's sort of a general overview. We can go to the next slide, please. So first, let me tell you a little bit about our master's program. We have 2 tracks for this. They range from between 30 and 35 credit hours, and it depends on which track you're doing. The thesis track is the higher amount of credit hours because you'll need to take your thesis credit hours. When you do a thesis, you're going to be completing a research study. And those who do the thesis are usually those who want to be able to practice doing research, right? Supporting people doing their research in a lab, something like that, and who may want to do a PhD because that'll make your application stronger for PhD programs. And then we've got our coursework track, and that one takes less time to complete because you don't have to do a research study, but you get to take a lot of the same courses. And what's really cool is that you can complete it face-to-face, totally online, or a combination of the two. And this one is really geared towards folks who are working full-time. A lot of our folks who are in that program either work for the state, for the university, or are teaching full-time, and they take 1 or 2 classes a semester. And we can go to the next slide, please. Our PhD program is focused on training folks to be able to do research, to contribute to our understanding about these important issues. And folks who get their PhD in our program go on to do different kinds of careers. Some of them become professors. Some of them become research-focused professors. Others work teaching, like at community colleges, focused mostly on students. Others work as principals at charter schools or at think tanks in private industries. So there's just so many different things you can do with the PhD. It is 42 credit hours plus our dissertation hours. Students can take some of their courses online, but a number of them are only face-to-face. It is a residential program because we want you here collaborating with us on doing research. And it takes 3 to 4 years to complete. We do have students who complete it as full-time employees. It just, they'll have to get released sometimes for daytime classes. And it takes longer, right? Because you're having to take classes at a slower pace and find time to squeeze in your research. So it does take longer if you are employed full-time. And I think I've got one more slide for us. So how do you get into our program and what kinds of assistantships do we have? You can see up here on this slide what our requirements are for the master's versus the PhD. Sometimes we get questions about, can I be admitted directly into the PhD? You know, if I've just finished my bachelor's degree. In some cases, you can be dually admitted to the master's and the PhD, but you don't officially become a PhD student till you complete that master's. But that's only in very small cases. That's how it usually is done in psychology. In psychology departments, you start with your master's and continue their PhD. We have a really great track for students who start their master's with us and want to do the PhD. You have to apply for the PhD, but we reduce the number of credit hours you have to take during the PhD program if you completed your master's with us. So that really helps you slide through the two. You have to do the annoying apply again, but it helps you slide through the program a lot quicker. And you can see our GREs down there. What's been really great is during the pandemic, they've totally waived having to have the GRE for our master's applicants. And what we did even before that, during the pandemic, we actually got it so it's waived. If you have experience that's relevant to our program, you can get it waived after 2021. So our master's program, if you've got experience teaching or you've taken several courses with us already, you can get that GRE for the master's waived, even when the pandemic is over. Can't wait. And then in terms of, let me answer this question first. Are there common classes between the Ed Psych and Sports Psych programs? Yes. So a lot of the courses that we offer in the Learning and Cognition program are taken by students in other programs in our department. And so, the Sports Psych students will take my research methods course. Our students in Learning and Cognition will take courses in Sports Psych. And so they do count, but they are separate degree programs with somewhat different requirements. And I know they will be speaking later today, so they can answer some more questions for you. And then we've got a question about the GRE. If we're able to take the GRE anyways, will it still be considered if we share the scores? Yes. So we look at any data, any information that you submit for us in your application packet. We never just look at one thing and go, oh, we're going to throw that application out, right? We don't do that. We look at the whole package, all the different experiences you've had, your letters, your writing, your scores for whatever you might have. And so we try to look at people holistically. Okay, assistantships. I know we get lots of questions about that. Primary assistantships that we have in our Learning and Cognition program include teaching the Ed Psych course to pre-service teachers, to undergraduate students. And I think, you probably realize our department is a grad-only department. We only offer graduate degrees. However, we do have some undergraduate courses in Sports Psych and in Learning Cognition primarily that are offered to undergraduate students. And these create wonderful opportunities for our grad students to practice their pedagogical techniques as well as to get these assistantships. And then other assistantships include being a teaching assistant for graduate level courses, and sometimes on research projects. And what we do as a faculty is once we know who's saying they're going to come, is we look at all the different jobs that we have available and whose skills fit best with what, and figure out what we can offer to folks before they show up. So I got a few minutes left for questions about our college teaching certificate or our Learning and Cognition master's and PhD programs.
So this is Jim Klein. I just wanted to piggyback on something that was asked and Alicia talked about. So we have students who come to us for a PhD program in one area, but then they end up getting a certificate in measurement and statistics. They could get a certificate in college teaching. They can get so we have PhD students who have an opportunity, and master students as well,
Yeah.
but master students aren't here as long. But one thing to note is you shouldn't use a course for multiple degrees and certificates. In fact, Florida State has policy that says you can only use a course twice, although sometimes those certificates, they can bend that rule a little bit. But let's say, for an example, you take Measurement and Statistics 101 as part of your degree, you're not going to be able to count that across all certificates, only the degree and the Measurement and Statistics certificate. So just be careful coming in thinking, well, I can triple and quadruple dip on a course and get all these certificates. You really, once again, you really should only count a course twice, but sometimes certificates allow you to do it a couple of more times.
Yeah, certificates definitely, like you said, twice, but that's about it. But usually most certificates have very different courses in them. They don't let them overlap quite a bit, right? So that you can only use it, the courses usually only count for one certificate. And then, so you'll get a degree and you'll get a certificate. Some people even get 2 certificates, but like I said, the courses are very different in them. So they're not triple dipping. Any other questions folks have?
Well, it's 9:30, so let's move on to I believe instructional systems is next.
Yep.
And so let's hear from the instructional systems folks.
Thank you, and good morning, everybody. My name is Dr. Vanessa Denon, and I'm a professor of instructional systems and learning technologies, and I am joined here to help me present this morning by my colleague, Dr. Diana Brandon, and she is the director of our master's program. So she's going to focus specifically talking about the master's program this morning, and I will be talking about the other programs, and we're happy to answer any questions that you have along the way, so please don't be shy about dropping them into the chat. The Instructional Systems and Learning Technologies program at Florida State University is one of the very oldest of its kind, one of the first. Many of the luminaries of our field have passed through the halls of the stone building and contributed to the field as we know it these days. What you're looking at on the slide right now is a portion, not quite all, of our full-time ISLT family. And I say family because we really feel that way about ourselves along with our students and our alumni. And I think you'll get a sense of that throughout our presentation. The ISLT group is a very bonded group that even after our students leave us and become alumni, they continue to stay in touch with us. They continue to stay in touch with each other, and the sense of community is tremendous. That's one of the things that we enjoy most about our program and that we're most excited about. If you're not familiar with this area, the name doesn't always tell you exactly what it's about, but what we do in the field of instructional systems and learning technologies is we take a look at systems. So there are educational systems, there can be performance systems. We go across all levels of education. We run through K-12, higher ed, corporate learning environments, informal learning. It doesn't really matter which ones they are. And we figure out how to help people solve problems. Sometimes those problems are, in fact, education-related problems, learning problems, and in those cases, we tap into the vast field of instructional design knowledge, and we enhance it with our learning technology knowledge. We have all sorts of systems in place to help us design, develop, evaluate, and design, develop, implement, and evaluate effective instruction. And when it's not an instructional problem, if it's a motivational problem or perhaps there's a problem in the overall learning environment, we're well equipped to help solve those problems as well. Each of the programs, each of the degree areas that we offer attracts a slightly different audience with a slightly different purpose. So we'll tell you a little bit about each of those now. Diana's going to start off telling you about our master's program.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We are excited to have you as part of our audience this morning and to chat with you a little bit and answer any questions that you have. The master's program is a 36 credit hour program. We normally have a face-to-face and an online component. Right now, everything is online because of COVID. Those courses are split. There's 36 credit hours are split. There are 18 required courses, or I'm sorry, 18 credit hours of required courses. Then you have a capstone experience that is an internship, and we work with those who are working full-time and are not working full-time or full-time students. We have both of those in our program, and we are able to accommodate both. And then you have 15 credit hours worth of electives that you fill in from your areas of interest or from some of those certificate requirements. We have 3 certificates in the program. One is in human performance technology, one is in instructional design and technology, and one is in online teaching and learning. We do recommend, if you are a master's student that's interested in our certificate, that you pursue either the human performance technology or the online teaching and learning certificates. There's a lot of overlap with the degree and the instructional design and technology certificate, so it doesn't make a ton of sense for you to get a master's and a certificate in that area. That certificate is generally reserved for people who are outside the major or who are coming from a different direction. So we have those options. We talked a lot about certificates today, so I'm not going to spend too much time on those. But those certificates are available, and you can earn one or more when you have the master's program as well. I'm going to pause for just a second to see if anybody has questions about that, and I'm kind of watching the chat to see.
Should I start to jump in with some information about the doctoral programs?
Go for it.
Okay, we have 2 doctoral programs that we offer in the ISLT program, and people always ask, what is different about these doctoral programs? Well, you know, the EDD in learning design and performance technology and the PhD in instructional systems and learning technologies, they have a few things in common. We still draw upon the same core overall, instructional design knowledge of our field, and we have the same faculty teaching the program and the same high quality and rigor for both programs. However, they're offered via different modalities and they have different outcomes. They're intended for people with different goals. So I'm actually going to start with the PhD for a moment because I know that's a degree program that people tend to be more familiar with because they know that a PhD is the path to becoming a full-time tenured professor at a research university. If you want my job, you want the PhD program. In the PhD program, students come to campus and they go through a program of study where they are taking core courses in the instructional systems and learning technologies field. We also have core research courses in our own field, and then there are courses taken across the College of Education, for example, over in measurement and statistics. These students are learning how to develop their own research agendas so that they can become researchers who conduct the kind of studies that contribute to the general knowledge base of the field. The target with that is publishing journal articles and getting research grants from places like the National Science Foundation. So that is the output. It is a campus-based on-ground program. There typically is the expectation that our students are full-time students, that they will do their coursework in about 2.5 years of being a full-time student, and then they will finish their dissertation in a year to year and a half after that time. The EDD program is a program that is designed for practitioners who are seeking a doctoral degree to help them become leaders in the field who are able to solve problems of practice using inquiry and data processes. So it is also a degree that has a number of research courses in it. However, it does not lead toward developing an independent research agenda and trying to publish in journals. Instead, it is helping people do better in their workplace. The expectation is that these students are typically working full-time during their degree program, and they take 7 credit hours per term. So it's not quite a full-time schedule. They take 7 credit hours per term for the first 2 years, all 3 terms. And then in the 3rd year, they conduct a dissertation in practice, which is a dissertation, but one that is focused on a very practical problem in a real setting, a problem of practice. It's 66 credit hours to complete that program. And then as was mentioned before, we have our 3 graduate certificates in human performance technology, instructional design and technology, and online teaching and learning. Jenny, could you take us to the next slide, please, which covers our admissions requirements for the different programs. The certificates, it's already been mentioned that a lot of students earn a certificate along their path to a different degree program, whether it's one of our other degrees in ISLT or elsewhere in the College of Ed or even in the university. But we also have people who come just to earn a certificate. They just want to get a little bit of knowledge about something, and they just need a bachelor's degree in order to apply, and it's a 15 credit hour program. Diana, why don't you tell them a little bit about applying for the master's?
So the master's requirements, we look at the undergraduate GPA, and we have a 3.0 minimum. The GRE is currently waived because of COVID, and that will likely continue. We also look at the personal statement. We really want to know why you fit with this program. We want to make sure that our program really aligns with your goals. We don't want you to get halfway through your coursework and then realize that this isn't really kind of where you belong. We want you to be in the right place. You have 3 recommendations, and those recommendations come from professional colleagues. We have a little bit of a unique setting in this program because sometimes we have people who are right out of school and they have professors that can give them professional recommendations. Sometimes we have people who have been in the field for 15 years. And so their professional recommendations tend to come from clients or colleagues or supervisors. And we're comfortable with that difference. It doesn't necessarily have to be an academic, but it does need to be professional in the recommendation. We review the resume and CV, and we look at that, as Alicia said about the Learning and Cog program, we look at that as a whole package. So we look at everything together and as a whole person, not as just a single piece of data in the review.
In our 2 doctoral programs, the expectation for GPA is a little bit higher, 3.2 in the last 2 years of that undergraduate program. A master's degree is required for students who apply to the EDD program. It does not have to be a master's degree in ISLT or a related field, and we have rather diverse students coming to us from all sorts of fields. For the PhD, the master's degree is preferred in advance, and we will at times see applicants who have only a bachelor's degree applying to the program, and we will recommend that they get a master's degree first and then apply into the PhD program. The GRE is required still for the doctoral programs, and I apologize, I do see I have made a little error on the slide there. For the EDD program, it is correct. We expect the 50th percentile on verbal and 3.5 or higher on analytical writing. For the PhD, the analytical writing score should be a 4 or higher. We again ask for a personal statement and 3 recommendations and resume or a CV. And I want to stress to you that students are much more than a test score to us. We look at them holistically. We look for people who are going to benefit from being a part of our program and who are going to contribute to our overall community. And this is particularly true of the EDD program, which is a cohort-based program. So we are admitting students once a year as a cohort in that program, with admissions in the spring for a start date in the summer term. And I see we have a few questions on there. In the PhD program, yes, in all of our programs, there are courses that focus on core instructional design, because nobody's going to get out of this university with a and ISLT without having some of that practical instructional design experience. However, the practical experience of it, well, for the PhD program, it can be quite extensive. The EDD program is a little more compressed in terms of the coursework. So if your goal were to learn all about being an instructional design practitioner, I would actually recommend the master's over the EDD program. If you want all of that inquiry skill development to learn how to work with data analytics, et cetera, conduct evaluations, then the EDD would be the program that you want. The time frame for the GRE, I'm going to defer to one of our admissions specialists to answer the question for the time frame for the GRE, because I'm not entirely sure what the technicalities are of that. And I'm going to ask Jenny to move us to the next slide, which just gives you, apologies, something exciting is happening on my street if you hear my dog barking right now. But we have our ISLT full-time faculty. There are 6 of us. We do also have some affiliated faculty who have other full-time jobs around the university, who have PhDs, who teach for our program on a regular basis. And we're hiring this year, so 6 here will have to become 7 on the slide next year. We are very excited about this. Can you move us to the next slide, please, Jenny? I know I'm running out of time, but tell you very quickly what's very special about our program. We have the #1 ranking in U.S. News and World Report for our master's program, a strong alumni network that I talked about at the beginning, and the alumni participate in a mentoring program with our master's, EDD, and PhD students, which is wonderful. A study that was done on the top textbooks of the field showed that our faculty authored 3 of the top 5 texts. We maintain engaging interactive classes with a low student to instructor ratio. That is something that we believe strongly that we need to be modeling good instruction at all times. And our student association, which all of our students are members of automatically, is very active and runs events all the time for both our online and our on-campus students. And so we can go to our last slide, which we have a variety of social media channels. If you want to learn a little bit more about us, but you're feeling shy about contacting us directly, you can always lurk around on there, or on Twitter or Instagram, and you can find out more about our program, the kinds of things that people in our program are doing on a daily basis. And I know it's about time for us to pass over, but I'm happy to stick around and answer questions in the chat, as is Diana.
Thanks so much, everybody.
Oh. Hello, everyone. My name is Laura Marks, and I'm Assistant Professor of Counseling Psychology in the Combined Counseling and School Psychology PhD program. And today I'm going to talk to you about our doctoral program. So our program is accredited by the American Psychological Association. We are the only accredited combined program in the state of Florida. Our program, you decide whether or not you want to specialize in counseling or school psychology. And it is 4 to 7 years long. It consists of approximately 3 to 4 years of coursework, of course, depending on how fast you go through the program. And the last year is what we have a pre-doctoral internship. For the pre-doctoral internship, students interview locally as well as nationally and get matched to their internship site. It is a full-time 40-hour-a-week internship. Students receive a stipend and often health insurance associated with these internships. We do admit bachelor's students as well as master's students, and that kind of helps determine how quickly you might go through the program. Of course, if you enter with a master's degree from a clinical area, you're going to move through faster than if you entered with a bachelor's degree. A core value of both counseling psychology and school psychology is diversity and social justice. And so we really try to integrate that throughout our coursework, but we have actually a lot of exciting things going on in that area. For example, we recently implemented a town hall, which will happen every semester, where students and faculty get together to discuss diversity related issues. We also have a diversity event that, we invite students to each semester. This week was our diversity event for the fall, and that was a presentation and discussion on racial microaggressions and other forms of microaggressions, which of course are subtle forms of discrimination that individuals from marginalized group experienced, and we talked about the theory, and then we had a great discussion as faculty and students. We do have some assistantships and funding opportunities available. We do have some teaching assistantships available and research assistantships within the department. These do tend to be a bit competitive, but we do understand the importance of getting funded. Students are not only funded through the department, they're funded you know, at assistantships across campus, for example, at the Center for Health Advocacy and Wellness, referred to as CHAW. Some students have assistantships at our career services on campus. We have a great relationship with them. Jenny, next slide, please. We have great faculty in our program. I'm really impressed by the diverse range of research interests that our faculty have. We have faculty, we have a faculty member who focuses on bullying, and she's actually on the call with us today. We have a faculty who focuses on suicide prevention, specifically with college students. I know he's done a lot with also college athletes. We have a faculty member focused in the addiction and rehab area, mostly around alcohol addiction. I myself look at you know, the experience of people of color and how experiences of racial discrimination affect their mental health. Like I mentioned, we have a great relationship with career services, and we have a faculty member with a focus on that. And you know, she does a lot of great work. We also have a faculty member focused on aggression and computer gaming, and we have a new faculty member whose research focuses on mathematics learning. So we have a lot of opportunities for research. If you do apply to our program, it's encouraged that you identify a faculty member that you're interested in working with. Students do get the opportunity to not only work with their major professor on research, but other faculty members as well. We also have a diverse range of practicum opportunities. So when you graduate from this program, you can gain licensure as a psychologist, or you can work in academia. And as a part of becoming a psychologist, you need to develop counseling skills. And so students are actively involved in clinical work through the majority of the program. We have some on-site clinical opportunities for practicum through our ALEC and HSC clinics, which are housed in Stone Hall. We also have a wide variety of off-site opportunities. For example, I know FSUS, FAMU, the Career Center. And so as a student, you really want to kind of decide where you want to be when you graduate, and you want to tailor those practicum experiences around your career goals. Some of the practicum experiences, for example, the in-house ones, everyone gets the opportunity to do that, but once you get later on, you're going to want to try and specialize. Of course, we understand that you might want to try a variety of settings. I alluded to this before, so career opportunities. So you can graduate and enter academia in either counseling psychology, school psychology, or perhaps even work for a combined program. We are the only one in Florida though, so you would have to leave Florida. You can graduate and gain licensure in a variety of settings. You can work in the school system, you can work in private practice, you can work at career counseling centers, you can work as psychologists at veterans hospitals. The prison is somewhere that hires psychologists as well, and some of our students do practica at the prison in town. Next slide, please. Oh, I have a question about assistantship, which, yes, so there's a separate process that occurs for assistantships. So our faculty are aware that an important part of graduate work is funding, and although we cannot guarantee assistantships, we really do try to support students with helping them find assistantships within the department or outside of the department.
Laura, this is Jim. I just replied privately because I thought I replied to everyone on that note. So there is not a specific application for an assistantship. As Laura mentioned, our faculty try to watch out for students. If you're interested in becoming a graduate assistant, you need to let the faculty know. You have to follow online to be hired. In order to get a job at Florida State, you have to provide certain documentation. You have to swear a loyalty oath. There are some other things as well, but you wouldn't apply per se. Now, that being said, the university does have a database of jobs, and some graduate assistantships are in there from other places within the university, but we don't tend to post these positions. We seek out people for those positions.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate that. Oh, thanks, Jenny. So admissions requirements. Like I said, you can enter with either a bachelor's degree or a master's degree. And so we have some target GRE scores, but we have different target GPAs depending on what you would be entering with. So a bachelor's degree with at least a 3.0 GPA or a graduate degree with at least a 3.5 GPA. Our targets for GRE are 150 or above for verbal, 148 or above for quantitative, and 4.0 or above with analytical. We have decided not to waive our GRE scores. We only admit students once a year for the fall semester. We do not have a spring or summer cohort that enters, so we only enter once a year. You're required to include a personal statement. Includes information about your research interests and what faculty you might be interested in working with, and maybe, you know, what are your reasons for wanting to pursue this degree. You're going to include transcripts, letters of recommendations, and you know, preferably from faculty members at, you know, in different programs you've attended. And then you're also going to include your resume or CV with any pertinent experience that you've had in terms of research. Maybe you've been in a research lab before, maybe you haven't, and you're gonna, if you've had any clinical experiences, and you know, even as a camp counselor. So we do look at the whole package, as all the faculty on this call have said today, and we do realize that you might not be strong in all areas, and so we do look at everything. Next slide, Jenny. And this is our faculty members, pictures of all of us. And I have a color coding system going on here. The folks who have a blue frame are counseling psych faculty. The folks with our red frames are our school psych faculty. And we also are happy and lucky to have clinical faculty as well. And so they are framed in purple. So this is what we look like, and I think we're a great team and we work well together. And I think if there are any questions, any questions in the chat, let me check. I have 4 minutes.
So this is Jim Klein again. I've heard several of the faculty talk about your application, and I just wanted to mention that one of the things that I think really helps applications are the statement of goals that you're asked to write. When it's very obvious that a student has not done their or an applicant has not done their homework, they haven't gone in and looked at the program and looked at the faculty's interest, particularly PhD students, to be able to identify who they want to work with and why. I think that's the number one reason that I look at a student and wonder whether or not he or she should be admitted to a program. And so really think about your statement of goals, make sure you've done your homework, and you address particularly why do you want to get a degree in this program and why this program. So make sure that you do pay attention. The other things that have all been mentioned, scores are important, your letters are important, but I tend to, that's where I believe the separation occurs for me, is the statements that students write on their behalf.
And I fully agree with Jim on that. If we read a personal statement and it's clear that you haven't reviewed our website, that tends to eliminate you a lot quicker than if you have maybe a bit of a lower score on the GRE. And so those personal statements really are very, very important in determining what we talk about in psychology a lot as fit. Should we be able to provide you with the things that you want to make it to ensure that you make it to the next level of your career, whatever that might look like for you. And if we don't think you're a good fit, then we're probably not going to rank you as highly as someone who has demonstrated they've reviewed our materials and they're a good fit for the program. Thanks, Jim.
Are there other questions about the combined doctoral program in counseling and school psychology? If not, we have a minute or two before our next presenter. Jenny, I guess we can move on to the next slide and we'll just get started with the next presenter. I think that's Eric Hines. Eric, are you here, and can I introduce you? This is Eric Hines, and Eric is the program coordinator of our counselor education program, and it consists of 3 specializations, and I'll leave it to you, Eric, if you want to turn on your camera, and Laura, turn yours off.
Good morning, everyone. As Dr. Klein has stated, my name is Eric Hines, and I am the coordinator for the counselor education program, which encompasses 3 majors: career counseling, clinical mental health counseling, and school counseling. I'm also the track coordinator for school counseling as well. So before we get started on the specifics of each program, I just want to make sure that everybody knows the differences between all 3. Career counseling really prepares our graduates to work with clients in multiple settings on life transitions and career transitions, and helping them with career and educational decision-making. Clinical mental health counselors work with individuals in a variety of settings, helping them with social emotional issues, mental health issues, and they are also able to work at the practitioner level. In addition, school counseling, what we do here is we're preparing the next generation of school counselors with a little bit of twist, more of a systemic focus, to be culturally competent, as well as work in urban and rural settings. And yes, you can work in suburban settings as well. But what makes our program stick out is to ensure that we prepare students to work in high needs areas. Jenny, you can change the PowerPoint. Thank you so much. So career counseling, one of the things that I want to emphasize about the career counseling track is that we are one of only 5 accredited programs in the nation. So for us, we take pride in our career counseling program. And it is also accredited by the Council for Accreditation of Counseling and Related Educational Programs. Try saying that 3 times. But our accreditation just means that we are held to high standards. Our curriculum has rigor to ensure that once you graduate from all of our programs, you can go anywhere in the country and get a position. Or if you're thinking about getting a PhD in what we call counselor education, which is more of a research focus, the CACREP accredited program makes sure that you had a curriculum that is aligned with a set of standards that will prepare you for that particular program in which you're applying for. So the career counseling program is really one of our boutique programs. We usually have about 5 to 10 students every year. It is fall admissions only, and it's a cohort-based program. It's 61 credit hours. 1 credit hour you will get to use as an opportunity to teach in the Career Counseling Center for one of the career counseling courses for undergraduates, which I think is unique, being able to have that experience. And the other issue or the other thing that I want to mention is that For the career counseling program, as well as for mental health in school, all we require for admissions is at least a minimum of a 3.0 on a 4.0 scale GPA, 3 recommendation letters. We are waiving the GRE score, but you can use a GRE score for school counseling, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. We also require a 3.5 on the analytical writing and a 145 on the GRE verbal if they weren't being waived. We also require a personal statement, 3 recommendation letters, and a CV and a resume. The other piece that we do too, to make sure that we're just not looking at your application and what you've written on there, is that we have interviews for each of our programs. So for career counseling, you will have to interview with 5 of our faculty members. And we really want to just have a well-rounded process, because we know that personal statements and CVs do not tell the whole story of a student, or an applicant. So getting a chance to know you and talk with you gives us a better snapshot and an idea of whether you're a good fit for the program. And it gives you an opportunity to interview with us to see if you would like to be in our programs as well. So it is the career counseling program is a 2-year, 5-semester program. We have 3 semesters of clinical experience, which gives you an opportunity to work with clients, to actually get your skill set improved, and to also be comfortable once you graduate. So you'll have a practicum, and you'll have 2 semesters of internship in a school setting, in a college setting, or a community setting. And what we've done this year too is that we've aligned our career counseling program along with the mental health counseling program, so that you can get your certification and being a licensed mental health counselor. So I think this is good, because this makes our program stand out as well in the state of Florida. We also have what is called a licensed practicing counselor as well across the United States, which is equivalent to getting an LMHC. So you just have to look at the state requirements. Once you fulfill the requirements in the state of Florida, you can still do private practice as well. For career counseling, we do have scholarships and graduate assistantship opportunities available. They're usually through the Career Center. The majority of our career counseling students are usually funded, and they do most of their work, again, in the Career Center. Jenny, you can flip to the next slide. So our faculty member for career counseling, our clinical coordinator, is Dr. Tristan Hyatt. If you have any more questions for the career counseling, you can either contact her or myself, or Ms. Tanisha Toussaint, who's our administrative specialist, to get more information about the application process, but also any other questions you may have about the curriculum, as well as the outcomes for employment. Jenny, you can flip to the next slide. Our clinical mental health counseling program is a 60 credit hour program. And again, it's a 2-year program. Fall admissions only. The same application requirements apply to our clinical mental health counseling program as well. The deadline is coming up soon, in just about a month, December 1st. So if you're interested in this program, please apply as soon as possible. You also get 3 semesters of clinical experience as well in diverse community agencies. Usually we will have our students who are here on campus working around the Big Bend area, the North Florida, South Georgia area, in terms of internship and practicum experiences. And again, for all 3 programs, you'll get a combined master's and specialist degree. You also get other career opportunities working in counseling centers, behavioral health care, prisons, private practice, and addictions counseling. So those 2, career mental health counseling, once you graduate, you can apply for your LMHC. You'll already be eligible for licensure in the state of Florida. So we want to emphasize that, because that is helpful, and a lot of agencies, particularly for clinical mental health counseling, are looking for that LHMC licensure. You could go to the next slide, Jenny. Thank you. So Dr. Simone May is our clinical coordinator for the clinical mental health counseling program. And Dr. Xingling Dong is our professor in this program as well. Both of them are definitely wonderful. And if you have questions about this particular track or program, please contact them as well as contact myself and Ms. Tanisha Toussaint. You can go to the next slide. All right, school counseling. So our school counseling program just came online last year. We relaunched our school counseling initiative in which we want to promote the College of Education more in the state of Florida to get more educators and more practitioners or applicants to educator and practitioner programs to enroll at Florida State University in the College of Education. So our school counseling program is not CACREP accredited just yet, but we do have the program of study, which is 60 credit hours, to align with CACREP accreditation. So we're seeking that in another year or two. But anywhere you go in the state of Florida, as well as any other state across the country, you will have the coursework that is equivalent to being in the CACREP accredited program. The application deadline is April 1st for school counseling, so you have a lot of time. This is a full-time, a part-time, fully online program, which is a 3-year program. So if you are a educator working in the school system, we highly encourage you to apply. Currently, for our first cohort, we have educators from all across the state. We even have a student who is based in Japan and another student who's based in the state of Maryland. So we're actually worldwide. Students are able to take the courses asynchronously. So for the exception of taking internship and supervision, most of your courses or most of your classes, you can just log on and complete the assignments as well. We do have a 1 semester practicum and 2 semester internships, just like our other 2 programs. And we have 2 options. You can finish your internship in 1 full semester. If you like, that will require you taking some time off for that internship. And then we have part-time, which is 2 semesters, which you can actually do about 20 hours a week. We are state of Florida educator preparation approved program, and all of our opportunities are mostly in P-12 school settings, although we have had school counselors who would work in college settings as academic advisors and program advisors. The other piece that I want to add for all of our internship experiences is that the career and mental health counseling, you have to complete 700 hours of internship. You only have to complete 100 hours of practicum. Both of them have what is called direct and indirect experiences. The direct experience is doing hands-on work with counselors. It is also, hands-on work with clients and also meeting with other constituents and stakeholders. The same with the school counseling as well, meeting with students. Indirect hours is normally doing administrative tasks and program planning. So the bigger piece that I want to emphasize about all 3 of our programs is that all of our faculty are willing to help with you getting through the process. We call ourselves a strengths-based support program. We like to make sure that all of our students are going to graduate successfully. We also want to ensure that students know that we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's kind of one of the hallmarks of being in the counseling profession, is that we're all being culturally competent. The last piece that I want to mention too is that for clinical and school counseling, there are really no graduate assistantships available. We're always helping students by referring them to the Office of Financial Aid or helping them look at the graduate school website to see if there are assistantships that are available. And we also have an honor society called Chi Sigma Iota that has started this year. Being a part of this honor society shows that you're taking pride in not only your curriculum and doing your work very well, that you're also committed to the counseling profession. So those are one of the ways that we try to create community amongst all three of our programs, given that one is also online. Just like the counseling, psych, and combined program, we do have a town hall meeting at least once or twice a semester where we just get together, especially during the pandemic now, and we talk about different topics, and also trying to hear the voice of our students to make sure that they're doing well in our program. Our last topic was actually on self-care and how students can navigate the pandemic and doing their work and managing their personal lives. And we talked a little bit about imposter syndrome, in which some students may feel like that they're coming to graduate school and they may compare themselves to their peers, or they may feel like that they're not suited to do this work based on the course load or based on some of the experiences that they have had. We have students that come from, or applicants that come from, a variety of backgrounds that come into counseling, from business to education to psychology from social work on the undergraduate level. So all three of our programs are very open to students who have various backgrounds at the undergraduate level. And that is my story, and I am sticking to it for counselor education. Any questions? Oh, yes. Dr. Yoon and myself are the faculty members for school counseling. And so if you have questions for us regarding the program, please let us know, as well as Ms. Tanisha Toussaint. Any questions, comments, concerns? Okay. Oh, you're welcome, Erica.
Okay, well, I can talk about our school psychology program now. My name is Dr. Lindsay Jenkins. I'm the program coordinator for school psychology. And I just want to get an overview of what school psychologists do, and then also talk a little bit more about our program specifically. So school psychologists play a very unique role in a school. Often you don't hear about school psychologists unless you're a person who needs those services that they can provide. But sometimes school psychologists will kind of work in the background a little bit. So we're known for supporting students' abilities to learn, and then also supporting the teachers' abilities to teach. So something unique about school psychology is that you don't only work with children, but you also get to work with the adults that work with children. So you get to work with teachers and administrators and parents, and everybody kind of takes this team approach to helping students succeed. We have a wide range of training goals for school psychologists because they're often expected to know a lot about a lot of areas. So they're expected to know about mental health, about learning, and about behavior, and then how do we help students succeed both socially, emotionally, behaviorally, and academically. So we provide a wide breadth of training in all of those areas in our program. And consultation with parents and teachers and other professionals is a very big part of what school psychologists do. They do a lot of assessments in school settings, but a role that they typically, school psychologists like even more, is consulting, which is, working with the classroom teachers. As a class or as a school psychologist, you don't spend a lot of time individually with students doing interventions, but that is part of what you were able to do. But a lot of times you're able to have a bigger impact through consultation with teachers. And so in our program, we have practicum experiences and coursework related to consultation and behavior management and classroom management, because you will be interacting a lot with teachers as well. You can go to the next slide, Jenny. So our program is a 73 credit hour program. And what that looks like is 3 years of full-time coursework. So the first 2 years of the program are primarily practicum and classwork, with the last year, that third year, being a full-time internship. So you would have classes fall, spring, and summer of your first year, fall and spring of your second year, and then you have that summer off, and then you have a full academic year internship, which is fall and spring of your third year then. We are really proud of the training that we provide students. As of now, we have 3 semesters of practicum, so 3 different practicum experiences, and then the requirement of the 2 semesters. Not all programs have quite as much practicum as we do, and so that's something that we're very proud of. In your first year in the program, you are able to spend time in a classroom setting doing your first year practicum. So you're assigned to work with a classroom teacher, and you're able to support students, help the teacher problem solve on any issues they may be having in their classroom, and get to just see how challenging the job can be of being a classroom teacher, as well as just getting in there and working with kids. And so it's not all just about sitting in a classroom and learning information. As early as possible, we try to get you out there in the schools and learning about how schools work and how you can best support teachers. In your second year of the program, the fall and spring semester, you do what we have termed our assessment practicum. So you get to work out in schools, conducting assessments, learning about special education and how the IEP systems work. That is something that students love, the experience of being able to go out to schools, participate as a team member on IEP teams, and helping to support students in kind of that more traditional school psychology role. Also, we are getting ready to add a 4th practicum experience, which would also occur in your second year in the spring, and that would be what we're calling a counseling practicum. So as of now, you have 3 counseling related classes to prepare you with the skills and the knowledge, but we are just getting the opportunity to be able to add a counseling practicum where you can put those skills into practice. And we made that change because we were getting feedback from our interns and our graduates that, you know, they were doing well with counseling because the courses had prepared them well, but they hadn't got to apply those skills before they got to their internship year. So, you know, we take in a lot of information from our current students and our graduates, and we try to tweak the program, not just to maintain accreditation, but to make sure we are providing the best training possible. So we're going to be able to add that additional counseling practicum experience, and so that students are able to practice those skills and get feedback on the skills before they even go to their internship year. We are a NASP accredited program. So NASP is the National Association of School Psychologists. We just this summer got 7 additional years of NASP accreditation, which is the maximum number of years that they provide for accreditation for programs. So we're really excited about that. Our graduates primarily work in school settings as school psychologists. So they typically are doing that 9 to 10 month contract working for school districts as a school psychologist. Dr. Marks earlier talked about the PhD program in counseling and school psychology. So a common question that we get is, should I get a PhD or should I get the specialist degree? And what I usually tell people is that if you can see yourself working in a school, you want to work in a school, the specialist is definitely the way to go. Most school districts don't even have that much of a pay difference, if any pay difference, if you are a school psychologist with a PhD versus a specialist degree. So the additional time to complete the PhD really may not be worth it if you know you want to work in a school setting. Because you, in Florida, can also be a licensed school psychologist and could even have a private practice and open your own business and see clients out of that business with the specialist degree. So if you plan to stay in Florida and you see yourself primarily working in a school setting, the specialist degree is definitely the way to go. And another great tidbit is that we have 100% job placement after graduation. So at graduation, nearly all of our students every year already have a job lined up for the following year. They're not even having to look for it over the summer. They're already graduating with a job offer in hand. So that's something that we're always excited to see. Okay. So admission requirements, that's always a great question to have. So we require a bachelor's degree with a 3.2 GPA. And the bachelor's degree does not have to be in a certain area. So common bachelor's or majors that we have from undergrad are psychology is probably our #1 undergraduate major, but also education can be a great major to come into school psychology with. Family consumer science is also a common major, and then as well as social work is, I would say, is probably #4 in terms of the frequency that we see. You don't have to have a certain major as an undergrad, but those are just the most common ones. We don't have a GRE requirement for this next admissions cycle. If you take the GRE and you want to send your scores, you're welcome to do that, but they are not required for this round. We require 3 letters of recommendation, and typically I tell people that at least 2 of those should come from an academic source. So the person who writes the letter should be able to speak to your academic abilities, your ability to do well in a graduate program, and just be able to speak to that. The third one can also be from an academic source, but your work ethic, or they had you in a related job. So if you've maybe taught at a preschool or at a summer camp or something like that, that's a fairly common source for that third letter if you don't have a third academic source. This has been mentioned earlier, but the personal statement is very important. So that's where you want to talk about why did you pick the field of school psychology. It's also a really good place for you to show that you've done your homework on our program. So what is it about our program that interests you? So an example might be, you like all the different jobs that a school psychologist performs, but you also may like counseling especially well. And our program does have a lot of counseling courses and requirements. And so that might showcase that you really did your homework and you know what our program is about.
Lindsay, this is Jim. We have a question in the chat, if I could reply.
Sure.
There was 2. One is, our master's conversion courses from the UK considered for admission? Yes, we have people from all over the world who apply to our programs. There is a conversion that the university uses because, as you know, some don't give A, B, C, D grades. But yes, we do, as long as it's an accredited institution in some way. So accredited by a particular body in the UK. Sarah asked a question, will you be able to add the counseling practicum in time for the next cohort to be able to take part, Lindsay?
Yes. So we actually changed this year. We did part 1 of the change to make that happen, to where instead of a separate group counseling class, we're covering group counseling techniques and theory as part of our individual counseling theories class. And Dr. Marks, who talked earlier, she's teaching that for us. And so that would be step 1 was moving that content from group counseling into that course. So now we do have a spot for our next cohort of students where they can do that counseling practicum instead of doing an additional group counseling class. So yeah, we will be able to, that will work out for the next round of people doing actually it will work out for our current first years as well, but the next round definitely. Great questions. Okay, so the admission deadline, actually that was a mistype on my part. That should be December 1st. So our admissions deadline is December 1st. So be sure to get your materials in there. In my mind, for some reason, I was thinking it was December 15th, but it is December 1st. One of the most common questions I get is, how many people do you take? And because of NASP accreditation requirements, we have to aim for a cohort of about 12 students every year. So we'll invite many people for an interview day, and then there's many people that find that maybe another program is a better fit, that type of thing. But ultimately, we'd like to end up with a cohort of around 12 students to stay within those guidelines that NASP has for accredited programs. We do have some assistantships available. In the first year, many people who have an assistantship are not funded through our department directly, but through others or departments connected throughout the program, throughout the university. So the Career Center, the Center for Health and Wellness, other departments in the university hire graduate assistants. In the second year of the program, we tend to have a few more people who have funding in addition to the first year. After you've had a year of coursework, you have some more skills, and so you're a little bit more marketable. So you may be able to secure an assistantship using some of the skills that you have developed already. I also wanted to point you to nasponline.org. So that is the National Association of School Psychology websites, and they have a lot of information about the field of school psychology, but also information about programs and accreditation and all of that good stuff. So in addition to our individual program website, the NASP website has a lot of great information as well. Are there any additional questions? I don't think so. So here you see pictures of the 3 school psychology faculty members. So myself and Dr. Craw and Dr. Hall are all school psychology faculty members, and you take a lot of your classes from them, but you might also have classes with some of the counselor ed folks or some of the other PhD in counseling and school psychology faculty as well. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Are there any other
and
questions
feel
for
free
Lindsay?
to feel free to reach out if you have any additional questions.
Well, thank you, Lindsay. And I believe we move on to measurement and statistics. And I think Dr. Yanyan Yang is with us.
Yeah,
Dr.
I'm
Yang?
here.
Okay,
Hi.
it's all yours.
Open my. Everybody see me? Hello, everyone. Good to see you. I'm going to introduce measurement and statistics program. We offer both master and doctoral degrees. We also have a certificate program. Now I'm going to introduce master and doctoral program, and Dr. Insu Pak will introduce the certificate program. The main goal of our master and PhD programs is to train educational researchers to serve in various type of professional positions related to designing educational research, collecting data, and analyzing and interpreting data. Our master program has 2 tracks, thesis track and course type track. Course type track takes about 2 years to complete. Thesis track may take 1 more year, depending on the progress of thesis project. This page also includes some example courses that we offer. For example, general linear model applications and measurement theory courses. Thesis track is a good choice for those who wanted to get more experience in research or wanted to continue the PhD program. Some of our master students are dual enrolled in PhD program in other areas, such as learning cognition, instructional systems, and learning technologies, and the School of Teacher Ed. These students have found that having a solid training in measurement and statistics equip them very well in pursuing their research in own area. Our PhD program emphasizes both applications and methodological issues in measurement, statistics, and assessment. Our faculty brings various type of expertise and works closely with the students. Jenny, would you mind if you go to the next few pages with faculty photos? I think it's page 37. These are our faculty members. From the left to the right, their expertise include evidence-based cognitive diagnostic assessment, that's Dr. Russell Allman, meta-analysis, Dr. Betty Becker, island response theory, Dr. Insoo Park, structure equation modeling, that's myself, and longitudinal data analysis, that's Dr. John. Feel free to contact any of them if their research areas sounds interesting to you. Jenny, please go back to the previous one. Thank you. Advanced students, PhD students in our program, we also have opportunities to work with Florida Department of Education as an intern psychometrician. Our students have been quite successful in finding their job after graduation. Many of them are hired as a professors in university, research type universities, and as a psychometrician in testing companies or in the Department of Education. Next page, please. Our admission requirements include GPA being at least 3.0 for master's degree and 3.5 for doctoral degree. GRE should be at least 50 percentile on both verbal and quantitative. Currently, we waive the GRE requirement for master program due to COVID-19. For international students applicants, TOEFL score should be at least 80. In addition, we require recommendation letters, personal statement, transcripts, and writing sample. Okay, our master degree requires 32 credit hours, and they should be completed in 7 years. For the thesis track, students need to complete at least 6 credit hours of thesis. For PhD program, the number of credit hours varies depending on students' academic background. For example, if they already completed some of the required courses in other institutions, then this courses does not have to be taken in the program. But they should complete all required courses on our list beyond the master degree, plus some milestones exams, for example, qualifying exam and the preliminary exam, as well as a dissertation, of course. For graduate assistantships, we gave priorities to PhD students. Applicants who have a strong profile may be recommended to compete for university or college fellowships. For current students, funding opportunities include being a teaching assistant, being a statistical consultant who provides service to graduate students and other colleagues to help them design research, analyze data, or interpret results. Advanced PhD students may also have opportunities to be a psychometrician intern at Florida Department of Education. I think that's all I wanted to introduce to our program. And the next, Dr. Insoo Park is going to introduce the certificate program.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Insoo Park. I am the coordinator for the program, MNS certificate program. The goal of this certificate program is, as you see in there, training students for their data analysis skills in terms of their, applied statistical methods and education and psychological measurement. So the degree seeking FSU students and also non-degree seeking students can apply for this certificate program. The minimum bachelor degree, however, is required. And all the online application and the completion of the program, all the things are now done online. So we have the link over there, and you can actually go there and then take a look at the program, more information about the program, and also the actual application form. And one thing which all the potential applicants must know is about this one. Yeah, the students must submit their application prior to completing 2 M&S certificate program courses. So this is really a kind of strict requirement. So you should observe this rule. All right, so you should remember this one. Next slide, please, Jenny. So to complete the M&S certificate program, after you are enrolled in the certificate program, you need to take at least 19 credit hours, all right? And 3 courses are required one, and the others are optional. So you can choose different types of courses. And to have the completion record in your final transcript, you need to have at least the letter grade of B or higher letter grade, all right? So I think I just told you very essential things that you must remember. You can always contact me or Mary Kate McGee, and we can provide further information, okay? I think this is brief. However, I believe that we provided very essential information. All right, I think that's all, yeah.
Insu, there's a question that has, I believe you'll need to answer. It's about scaling. Let me see if I can find this question in the chat.
Yeah,
it says, are there certificates available within the scaling and equating area, or is it just measurement statistics? And then what are the job opportunities for someone who has a certificate in measurement and statistics?
The M&S certificate program students, they can choose a course currently entitled as Theory of Scaling and Equating, but it's optional. They can take that to complete the M&S certificate program. But say someone is enrolled in this program and taking only this course only, probably will not be considered as very sufficient to get a job, get a job for, say, psychometrician. Typically, the psychometrician status would be for at least master's degree or the PhD degree. If you are thinking about, say, working as a psychometrician. However, if you're a practitioner working in some assessment center, and then you need to learn more about measurement or scaling and equating, that kind of thing, of course, definitely this M&S course can provide courses for you to be trained in those areas.
Thank you, Insu. And so let me add to what Insu says, is that the certificate in measurement statistics really provides practitioners and academicians with more knowledge about measurement statistics than they would typically get by taking 3 courses, which most of our PhD students will take courses in measurement statistics anyway. So then if you want to be a professional in the field of psychometrics, you should get a master's or a doctorate degree. So again, the certificate prepares you to utilize the tools, techniques, and models of measurement statistics.
Right.
Yes. So go ahead.
Yeah. So for example, say you're working in some organization and your major was different than, say, the M&S or applied statistics or things like that. However, your job involves a lot of applied statistical methods. and also some sort of equating or scaling job, right? And you learn from there. At the same time, you wanted to get stronger in that kind of work and more skillful in that kind of thing, then definitely, yeah, the M&S certificate program can help you, regarding that kind of skill enhancement.
I also mentioned earlier that many of our PhD students in instructional systems, in sport psychology, in learning and cognition, will get their certificate in measurement and statistics as well as their PhD in those areas, partly because they've already taken 3 or 4 courses in measurement statistics, so why not take an additional 2 or 3 courses to get the certificate? So you'll find many PhD students get a measurement statistics certificate along with their PhD. I see we have another question in the chat. The question is, if you complete your first degree in English language or in a country where English language is the official, I know the answer to the second question. So if English is an official language of your country, you do not have to submit a TOEFL score. For an example, in Singapore, Singapore has multiple first official languages, and English is one of them. So Singaporeans are not required to have a TOEFL. Now, the other question, if you complete your first degree in the United States, then no, you don't have to take the TOEFL as far as I understand. I don't know if that's true if you complete your degree in Great Britain or Australia or New Zealand, where they speak English as well. So that I can't answer. Does anybody on the call know that? But if you received like a master's degree or a bachelor's degree from an accredited U.S. institution, as far as I know, you are not required to include a TOEFL score because you already have gotten a degree from an accredited U.S. institution. Yeah. I believe that. Tanisha, are you still on?
Yes, I am. And I was going to say,
does that sound right?
Yes.
Jim,
yes,
Jim, Klein, we have 2 students who are from the UK in our program. I'm quite sure neither of them needed to take the TOEFL.
No, they are not required to take TOEFL.
Okay. Well, I see that Dave is with us. So Dave, how about you jumping in and we can continue to take questions in the chat. Thank you very much, Yen Yun. I'd like to introduce Dr. David Eckles, who is program coordinator of our very popular sport psychology program.
Thank you, Jim. Let me just check I am not muted here. No, that's good, because that's a standard thing these days to do at the beginning, isn't it? To make sure you're muted when you begin to speak. So I'll describe our degree programs briefly. So we offer 2 higher degree programs that we like to propose are informed by the scientist practitioner model of sports psychology. What does that mean? It means that our programs are focused first on the science of sports psychology. And in addition, we provide great opportunities to work under supervision with athletes and other types of performers to apply this science in the support of mental components of those athletes' performance. And so that's the key mission, I suppose, in relation to the 2 degrees. In the supervision component, where our students get to work with athletes, they are able to work towards the CMPC certification, that stands for Certified Mental Performance Consultant status, and the accrediting body for that is the Association for Applied Sports Psychology, which is one of the planet's largest professional organizations for the application of sports psychology, working with athletes and other performers. So just some examples of the types of courses we offer, and this of course depends slightly on the level of degree, master's versus PhD. Some examples there: Introduction to Sports Psychology, a nice broad brush introduction to a lot of the topics that characterize the various areas of sports psychology. Another course, Group Dynamics in Sport, that I'm actually teaching this semester, focused on, in particular, of course, how teams function, both socially and cognitively, how they need to think collectively together, and the extent to which they need to get along and cohere. And then finally, Bob Eckland teaches stress and performance course here, looking at the relationships between perceptions of anxiety and the ability to perform under stress in athletic contexts. So there's just 3 examples of the foci of the courses that we offer. In terms of career opportunities, many of our students who come out of the master's degree, the largest employer actually is the United States military via a large contractor, because the military has a resilience training program. And of course, the military is the largest employer in the United States. And so there are plenty of opportunities there for people to wet their feet, working with the military and training aspects of what is effectively applied sports psychology in helping the military become more resilient to the various stresses they face. Those sorts of opportunities to gain other opportunities, working with athletes, working with corporate clients on aspects of mental performance. So we have somebody locally, for example, who currently works with corporate clients, but is also still contracted with NATO, and will fly 1 week to Houston to work with oil executives, and the following week, for example, to Belgium for a NATO resilience symposium. And so there are a range of opportunities out of the masters. Some people choose to go into private practice and set up companies and have been successful in doing so. Those who continue to our PhD are often aiming for positions in higher education of some kind, where perhaps they can simultaneously teach and mentor students, but also still be able to work in some context in a consultancy role with athletes. So we have plenty of examples of those individuals who've left us recently, for example, for Barry University in Miami, and we have a student who's an assistant professor at East Carolina University, for example. And so that's typical destinations for our PhD students who are able to sort of combine that educational component, but still obtain opportunities to do consultancy work as well. So I think that's some of the overviews of our program. Is there another slide here? Jenny, thank you. So in terms of admission requirements, you will have heard in relation to the other programs that there is a general waiver for master's entry in terms of the GRE requirements for the next full semester entry. The GRE requirements are still required at the PhD level. We have a lot of applications for far fewer places, and so in terms of strengthening your applications, we often advise students to get obviously 3 very good letters of reference, and primarily from academic sources, so your professors at universities. And in addition, see if you're able to obtain any kind of experience shadowing an applied sports psychologist and also an academic sports psychologist working in higher education, to show that you have some experience. Try to familiarize yourself with the Association for Applied Sports Psychology, that CMPC certification pathway, and evidence that kind of work in gaining that experience in your letters of application. That shows a broader and greater motivation than perhaps simply finishing an undergraduate degree and applying solely on the basis of that degree. So showing those extra efforts to obtain experience will set you apart. A common question asked of us is, do I need an undergraduate degree that's perfectly in line with sports psychology, like kinesiology, for example? Obviously, that is an advantage, having a kinesiology undergraduate degree or a psychology, mainstream psychology undergraduate degree, simply because you're you can stand on the shoulders of that earlier education when you come in. But every year we accept people who do not have that background, again on the basis of their larger profile when they apply to us. So please don't hesitate to apply. And having the GRE waiver at the master's level actually enables us to be much more flexible in our considerations about who applies and obtain what we feel would be a really enjoyable and useful, diverse profile in that first year master's cohort. So please do consider your applications and draw on those experiences of sports psychology where you can obtain them in your applications. Don't hesitate to reach out to me. There's my email address at the bottom, and I frequently will speak with students about the program via phone or Zoom. In addition, put them in touch with Carly Block, who's also here. Do you want to say a quick hi and wave, Carly?
Hi, everyone. I'm Carly. Nice to meet you guys.
Carly is a PhD student and is the program director to, the graduate assistant to the program director, that's me. And so she regularly puts students who are interested in speaking with current students in touch with students in the appropriate program, masters or PhD, so they can get a perspective on from the students about their experiences in the degree and everything else, experiences of living in Tallahassee and in Florida if you're from a long way away on the West Coast or abroad, and so on. I think that's it. We have plenty of opportunities for questions, so don't hesitate to fire away. Oh, let's mention our other fantastic faculty. There is Bob Ecklen. We affectionately call him Big Bad Bob, on the basis of his Olympic level wrestling background. So he has plenty of experiences to draw on in his lectures. And Svenja Wolf, who is joining us currently from Munich in Germany, but will be joining us in person very shortly, and is an expert in the area of group dynamics. And so we'll certainly augment our area.
Dave, you have a question. When is the application deadline for your program?
It is. They're different in our program. Let me just go to the FAQ document here. The FAQ document is available via our website and is a kind of tour de force of everything sports psych. So please do access that. For the master's program, it's due Jan 15, 2021. But we do recommend, if you're intending to apply for a scholarship or fellowship, applying by December 15, 2020, so upcoming December 15. And the applications are due for the PhD program by December 1st, 2020. So keep in mind, regardless of the program, December is an important time, and access that FAQ document that's available via our website.
Thank you very much, Dave. Are there other questions about sport psychology?
Including for Carly, of course, from the student perspective.
Are there other questions about any of the programs at all? So let me kind of recap, if I may, why Florida State and why educational psychology and learning systems. We have award-winning faculty who focus across the human system. So when I first became chair, I had to learn a lot about this department. And so the question for me was, how can these seemingly disparate programs all come together when we have everything from instructional systems and learning technologies to counseling psychology and everything in between? And so the thing that I've come to realize is we all have an interest in human systems, in learning and performance. And whether that's working in a school as a school counselor, whether that's working in an organization as a trainer, becoming a faculty member in educational psychology and learning systems, or perhaps working for the U.S. Army as a sports psychologist. You will be joining a department that has a focus on evidence best practices in empirical data collection and the application of that. So today we provided you with a bunch of information, but I think more importantly, we pointed you to a variety of resources. So if I can recap those resources for you, the College of Education website is an excellent resource for all of our programs. The people that spoke today, the program coordinators, are an excellent resource about these programs. And then you have heard about these three people who really help us run the show, and that's our staff. And we have staff members that are available to assist you. The names that were presented to you today, if you are interested in the counseling programs, any of the counseling programs, Tanisha Toussaint would be the staff member. If you are interested in sports psychology, Jennifer Walsh would be the staff member. And if you are interested in any of the educational psychology programs, including learning and cognition, measurement statistics, or instructional systems and learning technologies, Mary Kate McKee is available to you. These names and contact information, again, is available at the course website. The college website. Finally, in case you missed it, my name is Jim Klein. My email address is jklein@fsu.edu. And thank you, Jeannie. If you have any questions at all, I will make sure your questions get to the right people. So are there